Hello, good people of YouTube, Mountbatten here, and today we're going to go over the changes to the Slava. I'm going to give you guys my opinion on it. I'm sure most of you guys have heard about the changes to the Slava. I'm just going to go through them. This is straight from the Warships development blog. I will link this in the description down below. Okay, so ST.9.5 changes to test ships. Please note all information, yada yada yada. Well, first off, Ludendorff, this is funny. Ludendorff is getting its name changed to the, Pommern? The Pommern? I'm not sure how you say that, so it's no longer Ludendorff, it's now the Pommern, whatever. But Slava, this is rather quite interesting, really. Fore and aft end plating reduced from 32 millimeters to 25 millimeters. So this now means the ship has a 25 millimeter bow and stern. Fore and armor belts plating reduced from 150 millimeters to 100 millimeters. Armor belts plating at the edges of the sides reduced from 430 to 370 millimeters. Armor belts plating in the center of the sides reduced from 410 to 350 millimeters. Amount of damage dealt to all parts of the ship except for the citadel, which was restored by the repair party consumable, increased from 40% to 50%. The number of charges of the repair party consumable increased from 2 to 3. AA parameters were changed. Continuous AA damage reduced from 452 to 415. Damage by short-range AA guns increased from 200 to 203. Damage by medium-range AA guns increased from 473 to 476. Damage by long-range AA guns reduced from 245 to 193. Number of shell explosions in a salvo reduced from 10 to 8. In our concept, this ship, along with the French battleship Champagne, represents a specialized type of battleship that stands out for having more accurate guns but thinner armor. Slava has a high firing range, effective AP shells with good penetration and decent AA. However, the ship suffers from a long main battery reload time and an average HP pool. Okay, so, well, that's quite the change. I mean, whether or not you think the Slava's OP or not, that's a big change. I think we can all admit that. Reducing its power from 32 millimeters to 25 millimeters means pretty much every battleship at tier 10 will be able to pin the bows of the Slava now and the stern. And plus its side armor is getting reduced. It's everything about the armor got reduced, it seems. Ooh, got a little hiccup there. Now, what was interesting is that they buffed the repair party. So now it has a better repair, except for the citadel damage, which is remaining the same. But it sounds like, and I hope I'm reading this right, it could just be a Russian-English thing, but it does definitely sound like the repair party consumables getting a buff to where now in every other area of the ship that isn't the citadel, it's going to repair 50% of the damage done. But it still only has 3 charges. And since there's no more premium consumables, that means it really does only have 3 charges now. And with Superintendent you get 4, and with Kuznetsov, which every Soviet battleship captain worth their salt has Kuznetsov, you get a grand total of 5 repair party. And I mean, this is definitely going to help to counter the Slava, because the Slava before, it was very much kind of like what was going on with the Kremlin. Because the Kremlin has good armor for just about any range if you stay angled. So if you play it just like the Moskva or the Stalingrad and you stay slightly angled with your bow toward the enemy, the Kremlin has very good armor from pretty much any range. It has a citadel that you can get at if you get at its flat broadside, and that is of course a trade-off for having a large ship. It's not that maneuverable, and you gotta get at its broadside, and that's how you take out a Kremlin. The Slava, the problem with it was, of course, the Slava, with the gimmick of the guns are much more accurate the further out you are shooting, no Slava captain in their right mind is going to go and push up beyond like 20 kilometers. Because the ship has a 25-kilometer range, and it's got all the gimmicks of the Soviet shells. They have a very high velocity, They have good pin angles. They have good pins. And when you combine all that together in the Slava with 16-inch guns at tier 10, 16-inch guns at tier 10, they won't overpin as much because they're not large like some of the other calibers at tier 10, which means they're going to bite into cruisers a lot more than, let's say, for example, you're shooting at a Des Moines, and you're shooting at it in a Yami. You're probably going to overpin most of the Des Moines in a Yami unless you hit that citadel at the right angle. But using the Slava, using 16-inch guns, you're going to get pins on that Des Moines. And that's one reason why the American battleships are still pretty prevalent at tier 10s, because they have small guns for their tier with slow shell velocities and very good plunging angles, which means they're very good at dealing with cruisers. And that's why I believe you still see a fair few Montanas around, because they're still very good at dealing with cruisers. But now the Slava, it doesn't need the slow shell velocity because it's got all the special Soviet pin and fuse times on its AP shells. And again, nothing has changed about the guns, it seems. And a couple of comments on my last video covering Slava, they said that they changed something about the shells, but we don't know what. And again, that's just rumor from the comment section. That was not mentioned here on the dev blog. And as far as I can tell, this is the most recent dev blog about the Slava. So that may or may not have happened, but just going off what the dev blog has said, it still sounds like it's the same ballistics as far as we can tell on the shells. And they say long reload time. I think the last iteration of the Slava that we got before it just disappeared for a while I think it had a 33-second reload time, but then they dropped it, and it's very confusing because the Slava went through so many iterations before it just disappeared for a while. There's one point it had like a 35-second reload time, then a 33-second, then a 30-second reload time, but then it had a 60-second turret traverse, and a 45-second turret traverse, then a 60-second turret traverse again, and then a 45-second turret traverse again. It went through so many iterations I couldn't really keep track, but I think the current iteration of Slava, at least the one that we're going to see in testing, is the very weak armored with the same Soviet ballistics, and I believe it has a 45-second turret rotation time. So I believe that's the Slava that we are getting. Now, the way I feel about all this is a significant nerf to the Slava, because now you will at least be able to retaliate against it with just about every tier 10 battleship except for like the Bagon. Because, 25mm bow and stern armor, then the decreasing of its all-around armor, I won't be surprised if they do pump its armor back up in some places. But, I mean, this is going to allow ships that aren't, the Yami, to be able to retaliate with it, to it. But then you have to also think, what other tier 10 battleships are really capable of landing shots at 25 kilometers plus? Spotter plane Montana, maybe? Kurfürst and Republic, no. Thunderer, perhaps. Although is Thunderer's max range even 25 kilometers? But it could. I do believe it is like 24 or 25, somewhere in there. Yami will. But the problem still remains that Slava's a very fun ship to play if you're the Slava captain, because it's very easy to aim at that far of range with the fast Soviet shell velocities and the flat arcs. So it's not like the Yami where, the Yamis, the Yami shells aren't, slow like the American shells, but still they're not going almost 1,000 meters a second like the Soviet shells. So you do have to lead quite a bit with the Yami, and it doesn't have the Soviet pins and the Soviet fuse timers. It just pretty much depends upon having an 18-inch shell to get its pinning done. So, you get a lot of overpins in Yami. And Slava, again, with 16-inch guns, with Soviet pins, with Soviet fuse times and all that, you don't get a lot of overpins. You just outright pin the thing and remove it. And again, I would encourage you guys to go look at some old Slava footage of it just absolutely blapping battleships and destroyers for 17k, 18k, 20k, and outright deleting a lot of ships. But it does seem like this is a significant nerf. I'm interested to see how it's going to perform against the rest of the tier 10 ships now that it is really vulnerable now. I'm not going to lie, it is vulnerable, and you know, you could definitely argue that for it to be really effective at 25 kilometers out, of course it's going to need to have spotting done for it. But again, at higher tiers, CVs aren't exactly rare, so I do imagine it would be quite a problem in that game and in games like that. But you know, one team has a CV, the other team's going to have a CV as well, and I do have a pretty good inkling that the second the Slava gets spotted, every battleship player that has a battleship capable of hitting it, so you know, Thunderer, yeah, maybe the other Slava, they're going to focus the crap out of it, and with its very poor armor now, it's probably not going to survive that long. I get what they're going for here, you know, glass cannon, I get that, and the whole concept of the Slava is that yes, it's accurate at range, so you need to push it in order to deal with it. And yeah, on paper, that sounds like a good idea. And if the team play was a bit better in randoms, I would say it could work. But team play in randoms isn't, you know, very common per se. So it'll be interesting to see how this works. I am glad that they did nerf it a lot in terms of its survivability. But I do think its ballistics need to be reined in just a bit too. Because, yeah, it is giving up a lot now to have the amazing ballistics that it has. You know, its armor, its 32mm bow and stern, it gave that up. But we also don't know how thick is the Citadel wall in the front, you know. Because you can pin the bow all day, you really need to get to the Citadel to do some serious damage. We don't know what that's like now. And, again, it's in testing, and I hope they balance it. I really do, because it does seem like this thing is coming, and they're not going to shelf it. It seems. I thought they shelved it, and I thought they weren't going to bring it back up again, but lo and behold, they did. So I hope they get it right. I do hope they get it right, and they can, and I hope they do. But we will see what happens to the Slava. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of these changes? Do you think it's enough? What else do you think needs to be changed about the Slava as far as we know? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe. We're on our way to 15,000 subscribers. We just passed 12,000 not that long ago, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you're having a wonderful whatever day this comes out, and I hope to catch you guys in the next one.